So what I'd like to do is underline, and I know I'm almost feeling like I'm a bit boring this morning because I'm used to doing more math. So I promise that we'll do a bit of math in a minute. But before we do that, I want to chat about another undergirding thing that we're going to bring up all week. And this is this bit about a landscape of learning. So the way that we were taught, in a huge way, is that if this is where your students are, then this is the next skill they need. And so we're going to teach it to mastery. And so now they've mastered it. Here they are. And so then we find the next skill that we say, all right, now we need to teach that to mastery. And so we sort of do this linear progression, skill-based skill, right? Does that sort of feel like what we did? There's sort of this linear idea of what's the next skill, so now I can teach it to mastery. What's the next skill? And we kind of go up and up and up. So the problem with that is that supposes that our kids are here. But I'm here to tell you that our kids aren't here. Our kids are here. So if we try to do this with them, then what happens? So these are the kids that are smarter than you'll ever be. And you had to get used to that, right, in order to teach that there are kids that are smarter than you'll ever be. And these are the kids that struggle. They struggle, and we hope they get it next year. And that's a little bit of a teacher joke, but we feel that way, right? I mean, we're teachers, and so we love them, and we try to help them as much as possible. And I submit we haven't had really good tools. We have not been taught as teachers what are the ways to best reach these kids while keeping these kids flying. What does that mean? So if this is what our classes are, then doing this has the effect of these kids are bored, right? If I do this, these kids are bored, and they wreck our classroom. When these kids are bored, life is not good because they're bored and they're off doing things and poking people and stop that. So we don't want these guys to be bored, right? We want to keep them going. These kids have kind of always done what we asked them to do, and these kids have fallen behind. So what the landscape of learning does, in my opinion, is it does this. If this doesn't work, which we all know this is hard, what does it mean to do this? What does it mean to have a landscape? Instead of a linear trajectory, what if there was a landscape of learning? So that we had different things going on. So I'm going to talk about this in just a little bit more, but I want to give you a little bit of a visual. So this is a landscape. This is an example of Kathy Fosno. I'll mention her name, and so will my team will mention it this week. She's one of those researchers that I landed on when I first started reading about elementary math that I thought everybody knew. I was like, oh yeah, she's old hat. Everybody's got that down. Yeah, not so much, because she was groundbreaking right off the press. This is her way of looking at addition, subtraction, and number sense. What are the sort of things that kids down here, if we're working with these kids, what's a beginning place to start? But notice that as I start, I'm keeping these guys are flying, and these guys can still access, they can enter the problem, they can enter what's going on. Well, what are those guys down the bottom of the landscape of learning? What are those things in the middle of the landscape of learning? And what are those more sophisticated and elegant and nifty things happening? What are those things that we want to nudge kids towards? And again, this is brand new. When I wander across the country, people are like, oh, you mean you've sort of identified what you think the more sophisticated strategies are? Yeah, and that's a really helpful thing, because if our kids are here, doing this is difficult. And we've tried it, and we've all done the best that we can with it. What would it look like to do this? So to give you a little bit of a visual, let's say that if this is called a landscape of learning, I'd like you to picture driving down the road. Okay, that's nice. Maybe you're carrying lots of stuff. Maybe you're tense. So we're driving down the road, and let's just say that we're driving down the road. So I'm going to let this sort of play a little bit while I talk. So we're driving down the road, and as we drive down the road, you're going to see landmarks around you. You'll look out, and you'll see the horizon out in front of you. So if you think about the landmarks around you as the big ideas, models, can you hear me still over there? Is that too loud? No? So if you think about big ideas, models, and strategies that you're working with, those are kind of the ones that you have to really pay attention to right now as you're driving. Don't hit that. Wait, there's the line. Oh, car coming at me. Those are the things that you're dealing with right now today in the lesson. Big ideas, models, and strategies. But notice that there are things further out that I can kind of tinker with. I can start to, hey, there's the sign up there. I wonder what it says. Hey, there's a car coming at me. I better not pass this guy quite yet. But it's a ways off. Some things out here that I kind of can tinker with, and they might influence my mathematical work, but I'm really not fussing with them like I am the big ideas, models, and strategies. They're right here. Those landmarks that are right at me. Also think about the horizon. If I look way out on the horizon, I've got things I haven't even thought about. Those things that the teacher might know. Hey, these these are things I'm going to later on the horizon. I want to put those in the work in case you can actually see those, in case you happen to be the kid on the landscape of learning that's up there, that's right near the horizon. Now, keep driving with me as we, actually before that, notice that then as I drive, some of those big ideas, models, and strategies, those landmarks right here, are now behind me, right? Once I've mastered them, then I can use them. They're now in my tool case that I can pull out to use because those are behind me. Think about that horizon for a second. As I drive down the road and I go past that horizon, what happens to the horizon? Did it go away? Or is there a new horizon now? So as I teach this way, I always want to keep that new horizon going. Kind of sort of? Alright, so I'm going to move over here so we can stop the sound for a second. So noticing on this landscape of learning, there's three big things that we're going to talk about. One of them are models, and those are going to be in triangles. You're going to actually look at some landscapes of learning and get into them a lot more particular. But what does it mean to model mathematics? What's the difference between a model and a strategy? What's the difference between a model and a manipulative? And there's a big difference. So that might have made some of you just go, are models and manipulatives the same thing? We're gonna differentiate between those and which models do we want to use because they can become tools later on. And then this idea of big ideas. What are those big ideas that are really important for kids to construct? So go back with me here. We were in this linear place, right, where the students were supposedly here. And so we're going to do this next thing here, and then we're going to sort of teach it to mastery. But we know our kids are here. So there's a possible side effect to this. So let's say that your kids are here, right? I mean, they're just not. So they're here. Your kids are here, and you come in and do this. But if you're expecting this, you might be a little disconcerted at this point. So you come in and you do this. Notice what all happens. Everybody learned, right? Everybody grew, but notice you didn't get everybody doing this. You might at that point go, Pam, it didn't work. They're not all here. And I'll smile and say, yeah, but that wasn't the point. The point was for them all to be able to access the learning and get better. And you might say to me, yeah, but Pam, this is my teak. This is the student expectation students must get. And so then I say, yeah, then do it again. So you come at it again with another multiple entry sort of problem or a problem set or an investigation or a lesson, so that as you come in again, students, and now look where they are. This was your teeth. At least now we've all met it. And these guys were still flying as I do this. So I want to just encourage you to don't just try it once. We're going to do a lot of problem strings with you this week. You go back and you try a problem string, at the end of the string, you're like, Pam, they're not all doing it. They're not all doing the strategy that was the goal. Did they all learn? Did they all grow? Sweet. Now come in and do the same string with different numbers again. And come in and do the same string with different numbers again. So I just want to caution you that don't think that because we're doing this, don't expect this right away. Expect it eventually. We definitely want to get kids to get whatever that student expectation is. But it will take some multiple entry lessons.